News.
It's been more than 40 hours since a man plowed through crowds of New Year's Day revelers on Bourbon Street. Slowly, things are returning to normal while investigators continue to comb through evidence to learn more about the suspect. Good evening and thank you for joining us as we continue to follow developments on this attack. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Cherise Gibson. New information has been pouring in all day. Earlier this afternoon, bars and restaurants along the street reopened, all while we learn more about those killed and injured. And right now, the FBI is saying they do believe the suspect acted alone.
And just a few hours ago, the FBI released new photos of the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar. Take a look here. These were taken from security cameras as he placed coolers packed with explosive devices around the French Quarter. The images were taken just after 2 in the morning.
Just an hour later, Jabbar cut in front of a police unit at Canal and Bourbon, barreling into people for nearly 3 blocks before crashing. He was then shot by police. We also now know that only 2 explosive devices were found. Those were at Bourbon in Orleans and Decatur in Toulouse.
Lily Cummings has been out on Canal Street today. Lily, what are things looking like out there tonight?
Cherise and Devin, the traffic is flowing on Canal Street now. As you said, Bourbon Street is now open. You also see a lot of law enforcement presence out here tonight. And behind me, a growing memorial, one of many that we've seen so far, for the 14 victims who tragically lost their lives in this incident.
The confidence is there to reopen Bourbon Street to the public prior to game time today.
Traffic returned to the French Quarter Thursday afternoon, roughly 36 hours after a terrorist drove a truck down Bourbon Street. More than 30 were injured in the attack. 15 were killed, including the suspect, 42-year-old Texan and Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar.
We do not assess at this point that anyone else involved in this attack is involved in this attack except for Shamsuddin Jabbar.
The FBI says 2 explosive devices connected to the attack were found in the French Quarter. The FBI had previously said it was looking for suspects who may have helped plant those devices in coolers.
Those were just patrons on the street that were looking inside the coolers, right? Well, we didn't know that at first, so we had to kind of track all that down and put that to rest.
That raised questions about how a fire started at the Airbnb Jabbar was renting in the St. Roch neighborhood after he was killed by police.
There's a lot of different ways that can happen. You could have different time devices. You could have a long cord that extended that time. You could also have pressure cookers that were put on top of the stove filled with gasoline, and then it went off. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but that is why our ATF National Response Team is here.
Prior to reopening Bourbon Street, these large metal blockades were installed on the sidewalk. NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick was asked if she was upset they weren't in place the night of the attack.
It's not a matter of being upset. This is not a matter of pointing blame anywhere. A terrorist is hell-bent on destruction. This man was going to do his best. And if it hadn't been on Bourbon, he was going to go somewhere else.
State Police, Homeland Security, the National Guard, and JPSO were just a few of the agencies standing guard with the NOPD.
Our city is stacked. That includes Jefferson Parish. The state of Louisiana is in this together. This isn't an Orleans Parish issue. This is a law enforcement issue and a state of Louisiana issue, and we're going to defend it.
And tonight, the FBI is urging anyone with information about the suspect or the attack to fill out a tip form. You can find that on our website. There's also a number you can call. That's WWLTV.com. Reporting live from Canal Street, Lily Cummings, WWL, Louisiana.
Well, people behind you actively putting flowers down on that memorial, Lily. Thank you so much. While Bourbon Street is starting to get back to some normalcy for 14 families, everything has changed.
Yeah, right now we know the names of 10 of those victims who lost their lives while celebrating the new year.
Yeah, New Tonight family have identified 63-year-old New Orleans native Terrence Kennedy among the victims. Other victims include St. Thomas More alum and Princeton football star Martin Tiger Besh and Nicole Perez, who is a mother from Metairie.
Also, Reggie Hunter, who we're told was visiting New Orleans from Baton Rouge on a whim. 21-year-old Archbishop Shaw alum Hubert Gautreaux, and University of Alabama student Kareem Bawadi. Auburn University alum Drew Dauphin, 25-year-old account executive Billy DeMaio, 18-year-old Nakaira Cheyenne Dido from Gulfport, who was visiting with her cousin and friend, and Superdome audiovisual technician Matthew Tenedorio, who tonight we are learning more about.
Whitney Miller spoke with his mother about his short life and the tragic ending that has changed everything.
He was the most beautiful baby. Oh my God. 9 pounds, 10 ounce.
For Kathy Tenedorio, the feelings are unimaginable.
Nothing prepares you for anything like this, losing your child. And, you know, you hope you can hold on to them till they get old and you die and they live on. But that's not God's will sometimes. And you just have to accept it and be strong for other people, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Kathy's holding strong for her family after learning her baby boy, 25-year-old Matthew Tenedorio, was one of the 14 killed.
The people that got hit by this car.
Only hours before chaos ensued on Bourbon Street, Kathy says the family spent a joyous evening in Slidell.
It was just a very fun time, relaxing, loving, and then around 9:30, you know, oh, we're going to head off. We're going to head into New Orleans. So we just all hugged each other and gave each other, a big love you, Happy New Year. Talk to you tomorrow. Please text me when you get home.
But Matthew never made it home. Kathy says when they couldn't reach him, they called the friends he was with.
And they told us, Miss Kathy, something bad happened last night.
They told how Matthew was split from the group when a terrorist plowed down Bourbon Street in a white pickup truck. No one could find Matthew.
We found out that University Medical had a conference room set up because that's where the morgue is, and that's where we went next, and that's when we found out he was dead.
Kathy says now all that's left are the memories of a young man who was reliable and dependable and who shared a joy for life.
He was like, "What are you doing up, Mom?" I said, "I'm going on the beach. I want to watch the sunrise." And he said, "I'm coming with you." You know, he was adventurous like that.
Even though you didn't want him to go last night, it sounds like you had a big goodbye with him, though, still.
I did, and that's what I'm holding on to and treasuring, that God allowed me to have that time with him last night. You know, he could have just gone in the city without, you know how kids are.
And it's why she wants all families to hold on to their loved ones and cherish every second you have left. In New Orleans, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
Such a tragedy for so many families. And this morning, just before reopening the street, local leaders held a private vigil. And throughout the day, we have seen memorials growing. Lily showed us one just a short time ago. But all along the street, people laid flowers, stuffed animals, and more in honor of those lives lost. We also saw a sign inviting everyone to a vigil Saturday night, though we don't know exactly who's planning that service. It is likely that many more visitors will come out to remember the victims in the days ahead.
And we keep learning more about the history and the possible motives for U.S. Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar to launch such a horrific terrorist attack in the name of the Islamic State.
WWL Chief Investigative Reporter David Hammer got the first interviews with some of Jabbar's former Army comrades Wednesday.
And today he has more details of how Jabbar might have become radicalized.
Just hours after the attack on Wednesday, I spoke with Trevor Neal, who trained with Shamsuddin Jabbar in the Army Signal Corps back in 2010. Thursday, he made a TikTok video to share his feelings after learning his friend was the suspect in the Bourbon Street terror attack.
So for 28 weeks in Fort Gordon, Sham was my friend. There was nothing out of the ordinary from him. You know, he was a cool, chill guy.
Peter Heap was another soldier in that same IT training class. He told me Jabbar started writing pro-Islamic posts on Facebook.
I think sometime between when I knew him and now, he got radicalized.
Now we're learning about Jabbar's mounting personal and financial difficulties that may have pushed him to the breaking point. Records from Texas and Georgia show Jabbar was divorced 3 times, in 2012, in 2016, and the last time in 2020. That last case was very contentious. Financial records from 2022 show Jabbar with mounting debts, and his ex-wife alleged he committed fraud in payments to her and their child. Jabbar told his ex-wife's attorney he was facing foreclosure. Then, a year and a half ago, Jabbar moved into this compound in Houston, in a tight-knit community of devout Muslims. But neighbors said he did not attend the nearby mosque. Thursday morning, a neighbor who did not want to be shown on camera talked to our sister station, KHOU.
When he comes in, he was Muslim. As a Muslim, I didn't know what happened to him before. I didn't know anything before, what his background was. I was in the military. I learned anything just everybody else learning as well.
The FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Reyes says that sometime before this summer, Jabbar started professing allegiance to the Islamic State terror group ISIS, and they want to know why.
That's the stuff in the coming days as far as that path to radicalization that we're really going to be digging into and making a priority.
Reyes said Jabbar rented the white pickup truck used in the attack, drove it from Houston to New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and posted 5 videos between 1:29 and 3:02 in the morning.
In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers.
At 3:15 a.m., Jabbar drove the truck with an ISIS flag mounted on the hitch and plowed through the Bourbon Street crowd, killing 14 and injuring about 3 dozen more. And when he exchanged gunfire with police, Jabbar was the 15th to die. It was an inexplicable turn for Jabbar's former Army comrades.
So what you cared about just takes a left turn like that.
David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.
Another piece of the puzzle here. When Jabbar was a college student in 2015, he was featured in the Georgia State University newspaper. He talked about his struggles adapting to civilian life and dealing with financial paperwork for the GI Bill.
And the St. Roch area neighbors tell us Mandeville Street is no longer an active crime scene after law enforcement spent hours searching for clues at an Airbnb the suspect stayed at. It caught fire 2 hours after the attack on Bourbon Street. Public safety sources say it wasn't a big fire and was quickly extinguished, but firefighters did notice strange things like a gas can found in the room where the fire started, tools and wires, and a drill left out, and asked for a fire investigator. ATF Special Agent in charge Joshua Jackson says they're still working to figure out if Jabbar could have set the fire before the attack. As agencies searched the home, nearby residents were evacuated.
I mean, it's terrifying and traumatizing, and you know, it's very distressing to just be uprooted out of your home and early in the morning and with no information, no reason, have to take your small child and just figure out what you're going to do.
The FBI says they recovered 3 phones and 2 laptops from the home.